How accurate are those reality TV shows about flipping houses? I'm going to go through the before and after photos, the budget I started with, and what I actually spent on this investment property coming up. Hi everyone, Chris Egan, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services here. In this video, I thought it'd be kind of fun to document one of my personal investment properties. And this is one of the biggest renovation projects I've ever taken on by myself. So I'm going to show you the before and after photos, as well as what I budgeted to start with and then what I actually spent. So here's a picture of the house when I bought it. I purchased it back in January of 2019. And paid $60,000 for this house. It's located in Midtown Omaha, and it's about 1,600 square foot, a little shy of that. Now this home had been in the same family for about 70 years. It had been passed down for 3 generations is the story that I got. And really nothing had been done to it ever in those 70 years. So it had a ton of deferred maintenance and fairly extensive termite damage as well. I thought originally going into it that it wasn't as bad as it was, but when I got into it a little further, it did have pretty extensive termite damage. So I started with a purchase price of $60,000, and then my initial renovation budget was $50,000. You'll see where I ended up at the end, but I of course went over budget a little bit. My timeline to complete the house was also 5 months, so we are now in October and I'm just finishing up. So I doubled the timeline of what I thought it would take and didn't double the budget, thankfully, but did go over budget, and we'll get to that at the end. Before I could even begin work on this property, I had to get a structural engineer to take a look at it, and he determined that the main beam of the house had to be replaced. The termites had eaten so bad on the structure of the beam that it didn't have any structural integrity left with the beam that carried the whole weight of the house. So he came in and did a drawing and explained to the contractor exactly how that had to be done, and we had to essentially put 3 LVLs stacked together across the whole length of the basement and add another column just before we could start any work at all to this property. The other part of that is that when the beam was eaten by the termites, it made the house sag a little bit, and the main floor had sunk about 3 inches, and so that had to be jacked up and leveled. I'll get to some pictures of that, but I knew that some of that needed to be done going into it, but not that extensively. So before we could even do anything, we had to get that going, and that started my budget off on the wrong foot just to begin with. So with the engineer working with the contractor, from start to finish on that took about a month just to get that part completed. And then after that beam was in place, then we could actually start work on the house. So I'm gonna start with the exterior, and then we'll just go room by room, and I'll kind of talk about what I did. But here's the exterior. And as you can see, it didn't have anything appealing about the outside of it when I got it. It was traditional wood siding, hadn't been painted in a whole lot of years, and had this really kind of funky enclosed porch that was screened in but didn't really serve a purpose. So on the outside, we got rid of the screened in porch and made it just a front porch. So it was uniform with the rest of the houses in the neighborhood. And then we had to do vinyl siding on the entire house. We wrapped the soffits. We had to do some new downspouts, then also did windows, had every window wrapped. And I think in this house, there was a total of 28 windows. Now here's in the living room, right where you walk into the front door. You can see the stairs off to the left and then the living room off to the right. Probably the biggest change in this room is what you can't see. And this is where that 3 to 4 inch offset was in the living room. And it almost felt when you're walking in the house like you're walking downhill a little bit. So that's all been leveled out. And I know you can't see that from the photos, but that was probably the biggest transformation that happened in this room. Now, besides that, of course, we refinished the hardwood floors. We did a ton of drywall work and also painted, did trim, and then new light fixtures. And you can see we finished the stair treads and then painted the risers on the stairs. Now here, going into the dining room, you can see this room needed a ton of sheetrock work as well. It had the plaster, and then on top of the plaster had the old wallpaper. So that all came down. We had to re-sheetrock, paint, flooring, and fixtures in this room as well. Now here's the half bath on the main floor. It was originally a butler's pantry, as you can see with the cabinets. There wasn't really a need for a butler's pantry, so we decided to scrap the butler's pantry and turn this into a half bath. There was no plumbing for a bathroom on the main floor when we started this renovation, so we added the plumbing and added the half bath on the main floor. So here you can see we obviously added the vanity, toilet, new window of course, and then both doors. So this was some framing that we had to do to make it so the door could go into the kitchen and then also into the dining room, and then flooring trim, we finished that out. So in the kitchen you can see from the before pictures, they had this kind of goofy wall where they had the fridge in the back corner kind of sectioned off. So we removed that wall, and we had to anyways because the termites had gotten up into those studs, so we had to have those removed and some framing work done on the back side of the house. But once we removed that, it opened up the kitchen pretty nicely, so it had a good flow. We also took out this kind of weird peninsula thing that they had in there that cut off part of the kitchen. So once we got that wall and peninsula out of there, it really opened up the kitchen. Then we did countertop, backsplash, flooring, paint, of course, as well as the sheetrock work. And then we did appliances. As you'll notice, the appliances are not brand new and they're nothing special. I did that on purpose because the plan was to make this a rental. So we want to make them nice, but they don't have to be over the top. Then we also added that new back door that runs, there's a little landing there and then goes to the backyard. So here up on the second floor, there's 4 true bedrooms, and they're really good sized bedrooms. Pretty much it was basic on all 4 bedrooms is we had to do a ton of sheetrock work. The plaster in these rooms was just terrible. And then also it had years and years of just damage and wallpaper, just nastiness on the walls. So we got rid of all of that. In some cases we skim coated the walls. Other ones we did 1/4 inch sheetrock right over the plaster. Finished that out, had it painted, and then did carpet upstairs. The reason we did carpet upstairs is just because it's in the bedrooms, and the hardwoods were in pretty tough shape that we couldn't bring those back to life. And then we also painted almost all of the base and casing. I would prefer to have kept it wood, but there just wasn't a whole lot left that we could save. As you can see in the 1 bedroom with the windows going off to the back, we kept it in that room, and then we also kept it in the hallway. But besides that, there just wasn't a whole lot of true wood that we could salvage, so we ended up painting a lot of it white. And then here's the second floor bathroom. So I wanted to try to make this bathroom kind of to the period, but I don't know if I really nailed that. I did the subway tile on the shower, and we eliminated the window so that there wasn't a window in the shower. But then we kind of went with a more modern vanity and flooring. So we did the flooring, of course, had it painted, sheetrock done in here, new fixtures, new vanity, and then the tile on the shower. We also added a Corian top to this back part, which is a little storage, kind of extra vanity part in the bathroom. So here's what I budgeted originally when I purchased the property. Like I said, I bought the property for $60,000 and I had an initial budget of $50,000. So here's what I had budgeted. And then here are my actual expenses. Much closer to $60,000. I think I finished at exactly 58 and some change. So I was about $8,000, $8,500 over budget when it was all said and done. There was 3 things that kind of threw me off of my budget. The first thing is I did not budget for a new air conditioner. While the guys were working on it over the summer, the air conditioner quit working. I had my HVAC guy go over and look at it, and when he looked at it, he said, the air conditioner's fine, but I can't get parts for it anymore, so it needs to be replaced. So we replaced that, and of course I had some fluff built into my budget, but that was my second problem, is that I used up all that fluff right at the beginning with that main beam. I knew that was coming, but I didn't budget enough money for it, so that ate up my miscellaneous right at the beginning. So those two things were my first two missteps as far as putting me over budget. And then the third thing I did on purpose. So I had not originally budgeted to wrap all the windows and the soffits. And once the siding was done and the windows were done, it just looked so out of place not to have those done. So I went back and had those wrapped. So it was a completely maintenance-free house on the outside. I didn't want any more exterior wood showing, at least as little as possible. There's a little bit on the front porch, but very minimal. So went back and had that done, and that of course ran over budget because I didn't have that accounted for. At the end, I was into this property for about $118,500, call it about $120,000 with carrying costs. And the ARV after repaired value on this property, the way that it sits right now, was about $160,000. I decided to go one step further once it was all said and done, and looking at the comparables in the neighborhood and what else was available, I really thought that there's kind of this weird shared driveway on the west side of the house. And I really thought that I could really bring some value to this house additionally if I got rid of the shared driveway and added a driveway on the east side of the house with a garage. So I'm going through the process of doing that now. I'm waiting for the permit to come back from the city, and then I'm gonna have that done. So I figured after that, my ARV is gonna be a lot closer to 200,000. And that's not a home run. I'm spending about $25,000 to get that driveway and garage put in. So I'm making a little bit, but I think if and when I do sell this house someday, there will be a huge value perceived in having that extra garage and then also not having a shared driveway. I didn't think much about that when I first purchased it, but the house turned out so nice that I just thought a family that wants to live here is probably going to want to have their own driveway as well as their own garage. So I went ahead and bit the bullet and decided to do that. So that'll be my last big thing, and everything else in the house is totally completed except for that, which hopefully will still be done this fall. So once that garage is in, I'll be all into the property for about $143,500 is what my absolute all-in number is going to be. My exit plan on this is to rent it for $1,500 a month, so it'll be just right about that 1% rule. And it's in a solid area in Omaha that I think has long-term appreciation prospects, even though that's not what I'm investing for. I'm investing more for the cash flow, but I think it's in a solid area that will continue to be in demand. So I hope maybe you learned something from watching this video. I know I sure learned a ton from doing this project. And of course, I would love to hear in the comments below if you liked my finishes, if you thought I have terrible taste. Tell me either way, because I would like to know for the next one. And don't forget to like our channel and subscribe. Thanks for watching.